Because
talk
I'm a
about
good
that.
because I'm a good negotiator. I have negotiated a number of situations in the past. I know how to manage crises.
The Canadian economy is in shambles. Trade negotiations between Mark Carney and Donald Trump, a catastrophic embarrassment. This is the same guy, the same Mark Carney, who campaigned saying that he was the Trump whisperer, the only man that would have Trump bow down to him. Crisis man, the master negotiator who only useful during times that the entire world is on fire. Things are so bad that the government is literally paying to push stories claiming that our economy is resilient. You couldn't make this stuff up even if you tried to. And enters the elbows up crew, popping champagne over Canada's economic strength and praising their leader as exceptional. Like the one man in Canadian history that's making all of the difference. Crisis man. Hitting all the right tunes for them. Photo ops with people in thongs. Perfectly staged smiles, and while ignoring the fact that Trump won't even take a phone call from him and our expert negotiators that were down in Washington, D.C., they got booted. They're gone with no planned schedule to continue the negotiations. Maybe, just maybe, we're gonna get a phone call. And who's gonna be on that call? Dominic LeBlanc? Justin Trudeau's babysitter? It's not going well at all. But here's the truth. Canada doesn't care about a deal with the US as long as CUSMA is still in place. These liberals never take anything seriously until their base gets angry. So how are they keeping their base happy? Let's get into the show. Don't be fooled by the headlines. Canada's per capita GDP over the last decade has been in absolute last place. And it's not even last place by a little bit, last place by a significant amount. The second last place is Germany. They've been in a recession for the last 2 years. But if you take our last place, which is 0.5% growth, if we took Alberta out of the picture, we would actually have negative growth per capita in Canada. But let's just add Alberta back in at 0.5. You would have to times the economic growth by 10, a factor of 10, to be tied with Germany at 4.75. And if you go down to the United States at 20.7%, you would need to times our 0.5 by 40 times. That's how bad Canada is. The US have had 40 times more economic growth per capita than Canada. That is catastrophic. And for the people out there that said, who cares about GDP per capita? It's only about GDP growth. When you go and purchase something in the store and you don't have enough money left over to buy yourself food, it is a massive problem. What is the Canadian government doing right now? Well, they provided a news article to the Canadian press, and the Canadian press used something called the National Wire Services that supplies content to multiple outlets. But in the green section here, this is a standard practice. But in Canada, subsidized media landscape, it can amplify uniform narratives, especially on government-favored topics like economic resilience amid US tariffs. Before I show you the articles, if you're not following Ryan Garrickson on X, he's the one that collaged it together. He's doing exceptional investigative journalism. Follow him on X. Make sure you follow me as well. Often you'll get a preview of what I'm going to be doing on my show if you're following me on my Twitter X account. So if you opened the paper yesterday, all across Canada, every single newspaper outlet had on their front page this exact article. Canada's economy is showing resilience against the United States tariffs. Why? It is the exact same headline throughout all of the mainstream media outlets. They could have at least picked a different picture so that Canadians wouldn't be scratching their heads saying, what in the world is happening within our mainstream media? Let's take a look at this article. What exactly does our Canadian government want us to know? As I mentioned, why is Canada's economy showing resilience in the face of US tariffs? And in the green, I've highlighted, we are avoiding the worst case scenario. And also, they included BMO, avoiding a technical recession this year. They're cherry picking the data. One bank says we're avoiding a technical recession this year. We've been in a recession for a decade. If you look at the information I just provided you, our GDP per capita, we are not growing in Canada. So who are they trying to fool? Out of the entire article, there was one section that I thought was helpful, was tracking the trade war between US and Canada. But the blue section, the blue dot, is paused. The green is imposed. If you look at this, it shows that it's only gotten worse and worse for Canada. Imposed, all the way to August 1st with their select copper products of 50% tariff, the 35% tariff on non-CUSMA goods, and to 50% steel and aluminum. Geez. And if you look on this side, the only thing that we have paused is the digital service tax. We've done retaliatory tariffs on $60 billion worth of products, as well as vehicles imported from the US that are not CUSMA compliant, 25% tariff. And you're not going to believe this. Retaliatory tariffs are hurting the construction industry, and also buyers are holding off on buying new homes.
President Donald Trump and his trade war. They're raising concerns about the rising cost of construction, including higher material costs and an uncertain supply chain. Andrea Hunkar reports.
As residential construction ramps up in Edmonton to address the housing crisis, builders and consumers are facing a major hurdle: U.S. tariffs and counter tariffs, driving up costs while the market cools.
Our customers that we've been working with, they have been extremely cautious in terms of closing a deal, and every time we talk to them, the tariffs is on their mind. And for us as builders, our prices have escalated and increased, I would say about 20%. And then every time we go back to the customers about these prices, it just sends another negative vibe for them to close the deal. So we have been affected by this, and the uncertainty is affecting our sales.
But industry leaders say it's not the U.S. tariffs directly impacting costs.
It's the Canadian tariffs that we put on in response to the U.S. tariffs. So us putting tariffs on a whole bunch of the U.S. products that we purchase to then build a home, that's where we're going to potentially see the impacts on housing costs. And
you know what's unreal is they put counter tariffs on food, and now we're finding out they're putting counter tariffs on construction items, things that we need in order to solve the housing crisis. Do you not see how crazy this whole thing is?
In Canada and Alberta, really those are glass products. They're your major appliances, your washer, your dryer, your stove, your HVAC system, so your plumbing, your cooling, all those sorts of things.
But he says the bigger question is how this could impact the broader economy, general consumer demand, potential job losses, all the things that allow someone to afford a mortgage. Their national chapter is in Ottawa pushing for exemptions, so the dream of owning a home is still in reach. And
just so people are aware, the uncertainty, that is the catastrophic component. Our economy, our GDP per capita has been zero for the last decade, and now we have this uncertainty. So you get all these elbows up fans going, yay, our economy is so strong and resilient. Look at all these front page articles. What they don't understand and realize is the uncertainty. It's going to cause all of these job losses. We're already seeing job losses. It's going to accelerate even further. People aren't buying homes. The costs are going up at 20%. That is insane growth in costs. And it's all because we're retaliating against the United States. Who remembers this picture? This is Jagmeet Singh during his election campaign, and it imploded. He's not even being reelected, thank the guy upstairs, but this was not helpful in his election chances. People saw this picture and it's like, this guy's not a serious person. Well, on Sunday, That same guy found Mark Carney and took a picture with him. That is how bad this is. Mark Carney should be in Washington, D.C. or in Ottawa calling Donald Trump and figuring things out. Instead, he was seen in Vancouver taking pictures with this guy, which resulted in Jagmeet Singh's campaign imploding. Here is Mark Carney today in the Okanagan at a softwood lumber mill. This clip has been provided by Government X is Corrupt on Twitter.
Canada's new government has a strong mandate to get big things built faster. And as we build bigger and faster, we will build Canadian, prioritizing Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum in Canadian construction. Today, I'm announcing a series of new measures to help the softwood lumber industry pivot to a growing Canadian market. The first pillar is to give our companies that need liquidity, that liquidity in order to address immediate pressures. To do so, we'll provide up to $700 million in loan guarantees. To make the softwood lumber industry more competitive for the long term, we will provide an additional $500 million, largely in grants and contributions to supercharge new product development and new market diversification. Products such as reinforced timber and low-carbon wood fiber-based insulation materials that are used in prefabricated and modular housing. We will be our own best customer by relying more on Canadian lumber, Canadian softwood, for Canadian projects.
Absolutely wonderful. $1.2 billion. Where is that money going to come from? It looks like the printing presses are going to be on overtime. Check out this question. Are you talking to Donald Trump and are you going to retaliate even further?
Connie Brady-Strachan, CBC Kelowna. Have you spoken to Donald Trump in recent days, and will you retaliate with more counter tariffs, including on American steel, or countermeasures or lift countermeasures already in place?
Thank you for the question. I haven't spoken to the president in recent days. We'll speak when it makes sense.
Hi, Prime Minister. Connie Brady-Strachan,
When it
CBC
makes sense.
Kelowna.
Gee. Mark Carney is not talking to Donald Trump because he's too busy going to pride parades. It's unbelievable. That's it for today's report. I look forward to providing all of you an epic report tomorrow. Leave a comment. What do you think is happening in Canada? Are we going to be weathering the storm and this most resilient country on planet Earth, like all the headlines are saying in Canada? Or are we rapidly going into something dark? The real estate market in Canada is not looking so hot. I'll see you on the next report.